Today we are going to see not introduction to Linux. So as I was telling you guys that today we are going to talk about basics of Unix, like the very basics, how to create a file, how to create a directory, copying, moving, the most basic things on every flavor of Unix or every flavor of Linux, whichever flavor you might be working, these basics are going to be exactly same. And I would like to sorry about my voice, and I may have a bit of interruptions in between. I may pause my microphone because I'm getting some coughs, so please don't mind. Um, let's continue. So in our last session, we have seen how to install Red Hat on any platform, whichever platform we might be. So what we did is on our Oracle VirtualBox, we have installed our Linux Red Hat 7. So you see, after your installation is completed, it would give you the screen where it is displaying a user, my user, what I have created. Assume that you don't want to log in as my user, you want to log in as a root user, the most powerful user. So what we are going to do is we are going to click on this not listed. We'll provide the username root and the password which I have kept Red Hat. It's taking a bit of time to log in. Okay, so now the login is successful. This is the graphical lookout of Red Hat 7. Where over here, if you want to work with command line, you need to right click and you need to say open in terminal. So when you open, it will give you command line interface where you can, okay, it is also asking some questions. Let me quickly answer it. Initially, it asked about what language do I prefer. I have already given it. English India, it's already showing that. Okay, done. So, see, I actually forgot it that what is the IP address I have kept. So I wanted to log in and I want to check what is the IP address of my machine, what I have set. So I'll run a command if config and more. So you see that it is telling me that the IP address what I have set is 100.10. And if you remember, we made it pingable from outside also. So let me say ping minus t 100.10. As you see, it is pinging. So if it is pinging, every time we don't have to connect to this console and work with that. See, even in your working cultures or in your real world, we may not be working in this fashion where you would be given the console of your machine on which you can log in and then you can run right click so and so. This is not going to happen. So in our real worlds, the way we are going to work is we are going to use a tool called PuTTY tool. So in this PuTTY tool, what we can do out is we can type the IP address of the machine. Like in my case, the IP address is 192.168.10.100. And to connect to almost all Linux machines, we would be using port number 22 that belongs to SSH. Few Unixes also works on Telnet that works on 23. Now what is the difference between Telnet and SSH? We'll discuss in detail when we go to that chapter of SSH, that why SSH is used. A hint I can give you that SSH stands for Secure Shell. So it is quite very secure to connect. That's the reason we prefer using SSH over Telnet. Anyhow, after giving the IP address, let me just pause a bit. Okay, let me say open. Let me try another session. If it is pinging. Oh, 100.10 is the IP and I have given 10.100. That's my mistake. I'm extremely sorry. So let me correct myself. 192, 168, 100.10. I have given 10.100, which was mismatching. I just want to show you something that generally how it appears and how we can change it. One second. So you see, for the very first time, whenever you are connecting via SSH, it would warn you that you are trying to connect to a machine which is not known to me. So are you sure what you are doing? Absolutely yes. So I'll say yes, I know this machine. Now it is asking you to provide the username, which is a root or any user that you would like to use, and then the password. So this is how remotely we can connect to our machine and we are going to work. So this is the fashion how we are going to work. We are not going to work in a typical fashion where opening console and working like that. That's really not going to work out in your real world. Every time we prefer using this kind of tool, PuTTY tool, which is a command line tool. And guys, if you want to use it, it's a free tool available on internet. Just you need to download it. Hardly it would be some kbs or an mb, and after downloading, just install it like a normal software and then you can start using it. Now, as I was telling you, that if you see that PuTTY has given me a terminal connectivity with black screen and a very small fonts. Let's say that I want to change this. I don't like that black screen and I'd like to make it white, and even I want to increase the font size. First, I'll show you how to increase the font size. So I'll go to right click, change settings. Over here, you can see there is an option available called appearance. On appearance, you can see there is a font used in terminal font Courier new 10 points. So let me just change it. I'll make it bold and I'll increase the size to 14 so that it may look bigger. Let me say OK and let me apply. So you see that the font size got increased. But still I am having a black background, which is not fine for me. Maybe it hurts my eyes. So I'd like to change it and make it simple white background, which is easier to my eyes. So let me change the settings one more time. And over here you have an option called colors. In colors, you can give any color of your choice, background color, foreground color. But I want to use simple black and white theme. So I'll select use system colors and let me apply it. You see that it has now given me a wonderful white and black background, which is quite easy to work with. If you are okay with background, you can work with. I'm just showing you the settings, how we can change it and how to use this PuTTY terminal. Also, every time I don't want to type in this IP address and all that thing to connect, so I'd like to save this connectivity. And how I'm going to save this session or information, I'll again go to change settings. There is an option session. I can type my session details with what name would you like to store. For example, I'll say RHEL 7-1 and I'd like to save this session. So let me save it, apply, and now it got saved. See, if I log out and if I again go to PuTTY session, you see that it is saving something called RHEL 7.1. Just load it and say open. It is going to connect to same machine with the same things what you have given. So log in with username and password and you are into your Red Hat 7 or any Unix, whichever you might be working in your environment. So this is how we are going to use this tool called PuTTY, very helpful tool via which we are going to do all or in fact most of our work. So as I have shown you in the beginning that if you want to check that what is your IP address, you can run a command ifconfig, and here you can see that the IP address of your machine is 100.10 what we have assigned. Now what are this name or this thing or this thing? Let's not talk about it. We'll discuss about that when we go to networking classes. So before I can start, let me show you a few basics of Unix, like how to know which flavor of Unix you are using. To know which flavor of Unix you are using, you have a command called uname. When I run this command, it is going to tell you that which flavor of Unix you are using. If it is Linux, it will show Linux. If it is HPUX or AIX or Solaris, it is going to show you the same. Now, as we are using Linux, especially Red Hat, if you want to know that which version of Red Hat am I using, then you can read up a file by using cat command etc red hat release. Now what is that cat command? In a short while we are going to talk about that. So you see it is telling you that I am using Red Hat Enterprise Linux Server release 7.2 and the code name is mypo. So this is how, guys, we can find out that what flavor of Unix I am using, and especially if it is Red Hat, which version of Red Hat I am using. I'm not going to talk about any other flavors apart from Red Hat or CentOS because we are mainly focusing on that. Now, if you want to see that with which username you have logged in, see, as of now it is showing you here, but in some Unixes it may not be displayed. So anytime if you want to know that with which username you have logged in, you can go for who am I without any space, a single word, who am I. So it will tell you that you are root. If you want to know more details, like from which machine you have connected to this server, what is your client machine IP, and what time you have connected, then repeat the same command with spaces. Who space am space I. So you see it is telling you that what is the username you have used, from which session you have connected, and at what time you have connected, and what is the client IP via which you are talking to this machine. So I am talking from my laptop whose IP address is 100.2. You want to see that how many users are currently connected with you, how many other persons are connected. So you can use a command who. This would tell you that at this particular time how many people are connected to your system. As you see, we have two sessions, PTS0, PTS1. One, if it is showing :0, that is nothing but the direct terminal on which you have connected. For instance, if I log in, I don't really like to log in on the console, but if you just check out over here, who am I, it would tell you that you have connected directly to session number 0. See, guys, as we are working on multitasking operating system, multi-user multitasking operating system, there are types of operating system, guys. Like you have single user, single tasking operating system, where only one person can connect to the system at a time and only one task can be performed. For example, MS-DOS. If you work on MS-DOS, you see, guys, only one user at a time can be connected and only one task. If you are creating a file, you can only create a file, you can't do anything else. So those are single user, single tasking operating system. Then you have multi-user multitasking operating systems, where multi-user multitasking OS, single user multitasking OS. First, let's try to talk about single user multitasking. In this type of OS, you can log in into the system, only one user at a time can use it, but you can perform multiple tasks. Like at a time, you can open a file, in the background, you can run music, or you can browse internet while running firewall behind the scene. So I'm sorry about it, guys. So as I was telling you that only one user can be connected, but what he can do is he can run multiple tasks. Many things he can do by logging into the system. Then we have multi-user multitasking OS. In that, many users at a time can be connected and every user can do a set of things. So such operating system is our Unix operating system, where multiple users can be connected at the time and they can do various tasks. Like you see, here there are many people are connected at a time. And in fact, it is the same user repeatedly I am using. But on this terminal, I cannot see, like on PTS1, I cannot see what is going on PTS0. And PTS0 fellow cannot see what is going on PTS1 because every user has been given a different session. So each session will not share what it is doing to the other user. That's how multiple people can connect even with same name, but each other they cannot see what is the work going on. So this is the reason it is displaying that how many users are connected and on which terminal the people are connected. Okay. Now let's move ahead and let's try to talk about our basics of Unix, where initially we are going to talk about architecture of Unix operating system. Guys, as you can see the figure, the Unix operating system works in this fashion. At the end of this particular figure, you see it is telling that utilities, which is nothing but user level. It has some levels, guys. The bottommost or endmost thing, if I say the topmost or endmost thing, what you have is user level, where user will be logging and user would be using certain commands in order to work with. Now these commands need to be run on something called shell. So the topmost level is user. That's the reason we call this user also end user. Why end user? Because it is sitting at the end of this architecture. So we call it generally as end user. So this end user would be accessing the shell. Basically, shell is a platform via which I can run or type the commands. For example, if you see, I am connected to a shell. See the commands, whatever I am running over here, these commands are getting run on a shell. Now, these shell can be command line shell or these shell can be a graphical shell. But shell is something that will allow me to run the command to give the information to whom? To the most important part of your operating system. We call it as kernel. So kernel is the most important part of any operating system. If kernel is crashed, the entire OS is gone. If kernel is alive, the OS is alive. And we understood the definition of operating system at our introduction class that OS is an interface between user and hardware. So that interface activity, like talking to hardware, getting back the information, is not done by the whole operating system. It is actually done by kernel. What kernel will do, it will take the commands from shell in user language, and that command will be converted into binaries and it would be given to hardware, where your command would actually get executed. So role of kernel is to have a communication with your hardware. That interface, that communicator, that translator between user and the hardware is actually the kernel. So user will access the shell and it will type a command. That command would be given to kernel, where kernel converts that user language to binary and it will give that instruction to hardware, where your actual command gets executed. For example, you want to see time or date. By accessing shell, you will run a command called date. So when you run date command, how does it goes and getting the answer from CMOS battery or your hardware? So when you type the date command from user will access the shell, and here the user will type the command on shell. From shell, it would be passed to kernel in a human readable language or user language, from where kernel will convert it into binary language and it will give it to hardware to execute it. Now, whatever answer hardware is giving, it would be replied back to kernel. In what language? In binary language. In binary language. And once that binary language answer it is responding, then it would convert it into user language, and that would be displayed on shell, and user might be using it. From hardware, it would be replied to kernel. Kernel will convert that binaries into user understandable language, and it would display it on the shell where user can access it. So this is how your commands would work. User to shell, shell to kernel, kernel to hardware. Then hardware will reply to kernel, kernel will convert into user language and display on shells and give it back to utilities. Now, there is a question asked, what is that SH, CSH and KSH it is displayed out over here? These are types of shells what you can use in your system. There are different types of shells available, like you have SH, you have Corn shell, that is KSH, you have C shell for programmers, that is CSH, and the very latest what you have is Bash shell. So currently we are using Bash shell, where Bash stands for Born Again Shell, BOURNE, Born Again Shell. Born Again shell, which is the most latest one. See the command to see that what is your current shell you are using. You can check it out by running a command called echo dollar shell. It will tell you that what shell you are using. We are using bash shell. In all of Linuxes, almost all Linuxes, you'll see that bash is the default shell. Whatever commands we are going to see that runs on any type of shells on any Unix, be it is Corn shell, be it is Born shell, be it is Born Again shell, or C shell, T shell, whatever it might be. So these are the basics that runs on every shell. Shell is just a platform via which we are communicating with our kernel. So different types of shells are there. Now how to know actually how many shells are there in my system, I'll show you in the coming classes, not now. But those what is displayed in our slide is the different type of shells what are available. And at the bottom where you see utilities, these are ls, cc, awk, who, these are the commands. So these commands I am running on shell, being given to kernel, conversion happens, talk to hardware, hardware replies to kernel, kernel convert into user language and give it back to user. So like that, the architecture of Unix operating system would be working. Basically, whatever commands you are running, whatever might be the command, we are going to run that command on the shell. For instance, I'm trying to run a command called date. It would show me that what is the current date in my system. So how is it happening? I am typing the command date here. It is going to ask the same questions to kernel in the user language, where kernel will convert it into binaries and ask the question to CMOS batteries, from where it would convert and give me back the answer. So all your commands are actually getting executed on the hardware level. For example, you want to create the partition on the hardware, on the hard drive, you are going to create a partition. So that's how it is going to work. Okay, one more question. Scripting is done at shell level. Exactly. Scripting is done on shell level. So you can do it shell scripting. That's why we call it, because the commands are executed on shell. So where you can automate it by putting some series of commands into one script, and it would get executed automatically. When we run the script, automatically multiple tasks will be done. And obviously it would be run on shell only. Okay, so let's move forward and let's try to talk about the important file system hierarchy, what we need to understand. Guys, in our Windows world, what happens is we save everything in the form of partitions. C drive, D drive, E drive, F drive, like that. But in Unix environment, everything is stored in a directory. So there are some important directories, or you can call it as a important locations. You can understand it as a partition, but every time it may not be a partition. Mostly it is just a directory to store different informations. Like in our installation class, we understood that there is a topmost directory which is called as slash. It is also represented as root directory. Basically, why it is called as root directory? Because it's the mother directory to all the directories. In fact, the whole operating system will get stored inside this slash. If you want to access Unix, you have to start with slash. Everything is inside slash. Outside slash, there is nothing. So it is a mother directory to all directory. So we call it as a root directory. This has nothing to do with your root user. Root user is a different thing, and root directory is a different thing. Root directory is the mother directory, and root user is an administrative user. Fortunately, the names are same, but they don't have anything in common. Then we have something called slash root. Guys, slash root is a home directory for root user. Every user in the system would be having a home directory. When you log in into the system, you would be landing in your personal location that is called as home directory. So if I log in as root, I'm sorry. If you log in as root, then you would be landing in slash root. Let me show you practically. If I go to my shell, see guys, who am I? I am root. And where have I been landed after logging, in which directory I am sitting? See, generally this tilt symbol, what you see, belongs to home directory. So if you log in as root, you are in root's home directory, it will show you tilt. If you log in as my user, you are in my user's home directory, it will show you that tilde symbol. So if I run a command called pwd, parent working directory, or you can call it present working directory. So it is telling you that you are currently in slash root directory. Let me show you one more time. I'll close this session. I'll again log in with rel 7.1. I'll give a username root. I'll give a password red hat, what we have maintained. Now you just check out who am I, you are root, and in which directory you've been landed, in slash root. So like that, every user has been granted one home directory. So with that user, if you log in, you will be landing into that particular directory. Now root has a privilege on other users. So generally it would be given a different cabin, that is slash root, which for a normal user you will not get. Always the root home directory is slash root. Then where is my other user's home directory? All your normal users home directory is maintained in slash home. This is the place where every normal user's home directory will be created. For instance, if you have a user called my user, then the home directory would be slash home my user. If you have a user called XYZ, then you would be having slash home XYZ. So every normal user's home directory would be kept in slash home. But root has a privilege. It is getting a separate directory out of home. So let me log in with other user and let me show you the point what I'm trying to convey. Let me this time log into same machine with another user called my user. If you remember, during installation time we have created this user. So I'm not doing any magic. It's already created. We have assigned the password also. And the password I have kept, if I remember, is RED. Yes. So you see, who am I? It says my user, and it says that I am inside my home directory. So if I just check it out, pwd, you see a normal user's home directory is slash home my user. So like that, every user is granted one home directory, a default directory where he would be sitting after logging into the system. So like that, every user is given a separate home directory. Root's home directory is slash root, and normal user's home directory is slash home username, slash home username. We have one more directory which is slash boot. As the name itself is suggesting, it contains all the bootable files, kernel images, and all the important thing that is needed to be available during boot. Then you've got something called etc. etc stands for etc, but actually it contains all the configuration file. See, in your system you may be having various configuration files, software related configuration files, application related configuration file, user related configuration file, password related configuration files. So all those configuration files are kept inside etc. It's the hub for all configuration files, whatever might be the configuration. Then you have something called USR. See, most of the people get confused by this name as it says USR. People pronounce it like user. But I'm sorry, there is nothing related to user, and even that directory does not means user. There is nothing related to user inside it. Absolutely not. It is the most important directory that is going to contain all the software in your system. Any software, if you install, it is going to get installed inside slash usr. It is exactly similar to your program files folder in C, in Windows, where all your software will get installed. So in Unix, all the software will get installed in USR, and the full form for Unix USR is Unix Shareable Resources. So I personally don't like pronouncing it user. Many experienced people or very high level people also pronounce it as user, but I personally feel it calling it as separately USR instead of calling user, as it may give a wrong impression to me that I'm doing something with user. There is no user thing related to it. Then guys, you've got something called OPT. OPT stands for optional directory. Guys, you have basically two types of software. One is vendor based software, like Windows operating system is Windows kind of product. So that Windows and Windows related product, I may call it as first party product. The products that have been created by OS and they are supported by OS, etc. etc. But there are some other products that have not been created by vendor. For example, VLC Media Player, Mozilla Firefox, AVG antiviruses. So all these software are called as third party products. That means which have been designed by somebody else, managed by somebody else, and vendor of the OS does not provide any support, no guarantee for it. So those software are called as third party software. So what Linux generally do or Unix generally do is it will separate first party and third party softwares. Like all OS related software, you will see it in USR. All third party products that are not from the operating system vendor will be installed in optional directory like VLC media players and all. Then we've got something called bin. Bin actually stands for binary files, which is nothing but your commands. So bin folder contains a kind of commands that can be executed by any user in the system. These are limited privilege commands. For example, listing out the contents of a file, listing out the contents of a directory, checking in which directory you are, and changing the directory, checking the date, calendar, blah blah. All the normal commands will be available in bin. But there is one more directory called sbin. Sbin stands for super users binary. As the name itself suggests, it contains the commands that can be only used with root power or super user power, like installing software, changing IP address, or uninstalling software, creating more users, setting up password for other users. All these high-end work which requires root power, and those commands would be residing in sbin or super users binary. Then we've got something called slash dev. It contains all the device information or devices files. Like you have hard drive, one entry will be created in slash dev. You have CD-ROM, one entry would be available in slash dev. You have pen drive, Ethernet adapter, any device, any hardware that is connected to your machine, you can go and you can check the information over here. It is very much similar to your device manager of Windows. Like you'll right click on my computer, go to properties and device manager. It will show you all devices list. Here also it will contains the same device list. How many devices are there in your system? Then we have something called slash proc. Proc contains all the process files, all the ongoing processes. Guys, in a very simple manner, I can tell you that it is equivalent to your task manager of Windows, where it will show you how many processes are running, how much CPU it is eating, how much memory it is consuming, all the other requirement and all the other things it is doing, it will show you. So all the ongoing processes information you can find it in slash proc. Then you've got something called var. Guys, are you able to follow me? A quick confirmation I need from all of you. Just simple okay or yes can do it. Okay, so Manzoor has confirmed. Zishan has also confirmed. I hope Edward is also okay. Yep. Thanks, Edward, for confirming. So let's move ahead and let's move to the next thing called var. Var actually stands for variable data or variable information. Guys, slash var will contains something called log file. Whatever you do in your system, all your actions, what you have performed, will get stored in a log file where we can find out that what has happened in the last time, what went through. So all those logs are stored in slash var directory. Not only logs, but even the mails. See, in your system, if you have two users, both users can exchange email. Even the user can send the mails to outside of the system. If it is configured with mail server, you can send mails to any email address in the world. To send emails, to receive emails, we need mailboxes, outboxes, inboxes. All that thing would be kept in slash var to send and receive the emails. Then we've got something called TMP. As the name itself is suggesting, it's a temporary folder where all your temporary things would get stored. During installation, some files may get stored over here. After installation, it would be removed. So it does not have any important storage inside it, just a temporary storage that would help your installation or any temporary things to be kept and maintained. Then we've got something called MNT and media. Guys, this MNT and media are related to access your hard drive, pen drive, CD drive. It's a detailed concept, guys, where we learn about this in our partitioning class where we talk about mount points and something. But as far as just to give you a hint, all your internal drives like your hard drive and inside the partitions, you can see it or you can use it on MNT. MNT is the location where all your internal drives are accessible or mounted. Now, what is mounting? We'll talk in detail in the coming class. Just understand that it is the location where I can go and see my internal partitions and I can use it. Yep, Manzoor, as I was telling you, mount point is a detailed concept which I'll tell you in the partitioning class. So as of now, please bear with me. And this is actually not a correct time to explain it. For that, we need to have some understanding of partition, but I'll definitely and surely explain that. So just understand that MNT is the location where all my internal drives would be kept, and media is the place where all my external media are kept, like pen drive, CD drive, basically all removable media, your CD-ROM, pen drive. If you connect a CD-ROM and pen drive, this is the place where you can go and you can access it. MNT for internal things, media for external things. Then we've got something called lib. Lib stands for libraries. Guys, libraries are some important files that is needed for operating system to perform tasks. Like sometimes we use some commands that may have some special characters like hyphen, colons, these, that, and many other important libraries are there that are needed for software to function properly. So all that libraries would be kept inside slash lib that is needed for OS purpose to run something properly. So this is all about your file system hierarchy. So one more time, just have a repetition. The topmost directory is slash, which is the mother directory all, and it is also called as root directory. Then you have slash root, the home directory for root user or super user. Followed by you have slash home, which is the mother directory to all normal users. Every normal user will get its home directory created inside slash home. Boot contains bootable files. etc contains all the important configuration files. USR, Unix shareable resources, is the place where all your software get installed, and all the third party software will get installed in slash opt. We've got bin. where all normal users commands are kept, and all privilege user commands or super users command is kept in sbin. All the devices information, in fact hardware information, if I say, you can find it in slash dev. It's like your device manager. Then like task manager, you have something called proc that contains all the process files which is going on. Then var contains all variable data like mail and logs. TMP, a temporary folder to store temporary storage that might be needed during installation or so. MNT, folder where all your partitions or internal drives can be accessible. Media, it contains all removable media information like CD-ROM pen drive. Whenever you connect a CD-ROM or pen drive, you'll see it available in slash media. Then we've got lib that contains all the important libraries. These are OS related files which are used by OS. Like in Windows, you have something called DLL. Here also we have some different GCC and all that different things are there that are kept in slash lib. Now guys, we have to log in and we have to do some commands. Now before I can log in and show you the commands guys, I'd like to have a small break of 1 minute, and we'll be back in 1 to 2 minutes guys. I just want to have some water. I'll come back. Okay guys, thank you very much. I appreciate your patience. And let's now log in into our machine back, and let's try out doing some basic commands guys. The first command what we are going to see is cat command to create a file. But before I can show you cat command guys, let me show you few other basics commands which is quite useful. So if I go back to your terminal, I'm going to do all the tasks using root user. And let's guys first of all check out the command date. As you saw guys, date is the command to check what is your current time, month and year, all that thing. Time zone, IST, it is displayed. Similarly, you can check out for calendar. You've got a command called cal. When you run this command, it would show you the calendar, like what is this month calendar. Let's say you want to see whole year's calendar, then you can say cal 2017. So this would display the whole year's calendar like January, February, March, April, May, June, July. Or you can check out for other years specific month also. For example, I'd like to see calendar for May 1983, or it says I should use right. So May 1983, what was that? Or complete year of 1983, cal 1983, the whole year. So like that, you can use calendar for a specific month or a specific year, specific date, whatever you want to check out, you can check out. Generally guys, like date, we'll use cal to see the current, and we see it like that. Also guys, there is a command called ls, which probably I have kept for later in this, but I think it should be discussed first. So you have a command called ls, where ls is the command that would list out the details of your files as well as directories. How to use this ls command? See, I have shown you to check in which directory you are, you can use pwd command. Now inside root, how many files and directories are there? If you want to check, you can use ls. So while running ls, it will show you the contents of your present directory, that how many files are there, how many directories are there, etc. But how to know that out of all, which one is a file and which one is a directory. Guys, as far as Linux is concerned, Linux give you some color coding to understand. Like over here you can see someone are available in black. So these black things represent a file and that blue one represents a directory. But unfortunately this thing may not be available on every Unix. Probably Linux is giving you, but if you work on AIX it may simply display in black color. Then how would you identify? So in that scenario we would be going with ls minus l, which will give us long listing. So I can say ls minus l. So you see it is displaying the contents of this particular directory, that is my root, in detail. And over here, if a file begins with hyphen, that means it is a normal file. If it begins with D, that means it is a directory. As simple as that. Now after that guys, it is giving you file permissions like RW, RWX. Please don't jump to the question what is that, because again I'm going to stop you here. We are going to cover it in the coming class when we talk about permissions, and we are definitely going to talk about it. As of now, just understand that first it is giving you type of file, then the permissions it is carrying, then how many links does it have. See, sometimes what happen, a file may have one shortcut given, like in Windows also you may keep a file in C program files, and you can keep a shortcut in desktop. So that is your original location program files, but you are keeping a link on desktop, so that link is a shortcut. So here it will tell you that your file is having how many links, and in directory it will show you it contains how many files. For a file it will show you links, for a directory it will show you contents. That means in this directory how many files are there. Some directory may have 100 files, 200 files, so it will show you that inside it there are some 100 things. What are those? We'll see later. For a file it will show you how many shortcuts are there. For a directory it will show you contents, how many files and directories are there inside it. Then who is the owner and to which group does it belongs to. Again guys, I will stop you here that what is this owner. Owner is basically the one who has created this file. So here these files are created by root. It is showing that it is created by root. If it is created by my user, it will show that it is created by my user. So like user in the system, you may have different groups also. So this file belongs to which group? Currently this file belongs to root as a user and root as a group. Now how it is giving root as a user and root as a group also, I'll tell you in the user administration class. So as of now, please don't worry about that or don't try to confuse yourself. We'll talk about it, that how come same name is used as a username and same name is used as a directory also. I mean username as well as group, I'm sorry. We'll talk about it. Then it is showing you what is the size of this file in KB. A size of a file is 1756, some is 6 KB, 1840. Guys, recently it is installed and totally our OS is empty. It does not contains much data. So it is, most of them is having very small sizes. Followed by it is giving you the date and time on which this particular file is created. Finally, what is the name of the file or what is the name of the directory. Guys, when I run this, it is showing me all the files and all the directories detail. Fortunately, we have only 8 things. Getting it or not? Or 8, 10, 12, something is there. But it is very small. I can easily find out what it is. But sometimes guys, you may have hundreds of files. So I don't want to see the details of every file. Probably I want to see only the details of Anaconda file. Then what to do? How to avoid all's output and only see one particular file's output? You can do it with the help ls minus l and specific file, that is anaconda ks.cfg. One more thing guys, you see the beauty of bash shell. Why we prefer using bash shell in Linux? Because bash is one of the most user friendly shell. See, I know the name is anaconda.ks.cfg. In other shells you have to type the full name, but here I can say ANA and I'll use tab key. When I use tab key, you see it is completing the thing for me. So I don't have to type everything all the time. That makes the life of a system administrator simpler and easier to work with bash shell. So now when I run ls minus l and the file name, it is going to display only that particular file detail. It is not going to show you any other file's information. Only it is displaying Anaconda file detail. Similarly, guys, you have some directories also. For example, you have a directory called documents. I'd like to see details of documents only. I'll try using the command ls minus l and doc tab documents. Enter. But it is not giving me the same output. Guys, in bash you can repeat the previous commands also by using up arrow, ls minus l, down arrow, up arrow. If you want to edit it, go with left and right arrow and make the changes. This is very easy guys. If you work on Conch shell, it is very hard nosed shell. These editing going back is not possible. You have to set some command, then it will give you access to go previous. Bash makes the life very easy for us. That's the reason I told you it is very user friendly. Now guys, when I run ls minus l anaconda, it is giving me details of anaconda file. But same thing when I run it for documents, it is not giving me anything. It is telling me total there is nothing inside it. So over here what is happening is, when you run ls minus l on a directory, instead of displaying the permissions or properties, it is showing you the contents of a directory. Like inside that directory, how many files are there. So ls minus l would work on a file to show you properties. ls minus l on a directory will show you contents of a directory. Inside directory, how many files are there, what are the names of those files. So currently it is not showing me anything. In fact, you can simply run ls and document. It will also show you the same, whereas ls minus l will show you with permissions. Now guys, how to see then about directory? Guys, if you want to work with directory, you want to see the permissions of a directory, then you can go with ls minus ld and the directory name. So when I run ls minus ld, ls minus ld and the directory name, that is documents, it is showing me the properties. So ls minus l and the directory name would show you contents of the directory, whereas ls minus ld would show you the properties of directory. In case of file, you have only one command, ls minus l. So like that guys, we can see the details of your file. And also guys, how many types of files are there? When I say ls minus l, it is showing you file, it is showing you directory, like that how many it is there. One more thing is there guys, in Unix there is a principle of Unix, that for Unix everything is a file. Unix understand anything as a file. everything as a file. If it is a file also, it will think as a file. If it is directory, it is a file. If it is a hardware, it is a file. If it is a software, it is a file. So don't get confused if I say sometime directory file, because it is also one of a type of file for Unix. So how many types of files are there, guys? If you see that if the output is displayed with hyphen, that means it is a normal file. If it starts with D, it's a directory file. If it starts with L, it's a link file or it's a shortcut file. If it starts with B, that means it is a block file. That means it might be a hard drive, floppy drive, disk, anything with which you can read and write the data. It can be CD-ROM also. If it is showing C, that means it is character file like keyboard, mouse, etc. So like that, by seeing these symbols, you can find out that what kind of file it is, whether it is a normal file, directory file, link file, block file, or character file. So these are the symbols, guys, what probably we have to remember. Now let's come back to our cat command. Guys, generally cat stands for concatenate, to add something. So cat command is used to create a file as well as display the contents of a file, or even to modify the file or to add contents. How to create a file using cat command? The command goes like this: cat greater than file name. Greater than is the command to create a new file. Guys, you have to be very careful while using this greater than. If you have given the name of a file which is already available with the same name, for instance, I am telling, let me take you back to terminal and let me show you what I'm trying to convey. For example, if I say cat greater than and any file name like anaconda ks.cfg, guys, this file is already available. And if I give cat greater than anaconda ks.cfg, it is going to overwrite the file. And guys, Linux or Unix is not a captive usage operating system where it is going to prompt you every time. In few cases it may prompt, but in most of the cases it may not prompt you that you are overwriting these, that. Simply it will do the task for you and you may lose the content of that particular file. So using this greater than is a very careful thing, guys, because if you have given any existing file name, it is going to overwrite the data inside it. Whatever is there inside it previously will be gone. So what I'll do, instead of using anaconda ks.cfg, which I don't want to do, I'll use some name called my file. As you can see, there is no file with that name, so I don't have any risk. It is going to create a new file. If there is no file with that name, it will create a new file. If already there is a file, it will overwrite. So let me hit enter and let me type something inside it. For example, I'll say hello world, welcome to Linux. Now I have done with my typing. Whatever I want to save, I have done. Now after you have saved, you have to run Control D to save the file, or we say log out of the file. So hit enter and say Control D. Come to a bottom line and say Control D to save and quit. Now your file will get created and saved. As you see, our file got created, my file. Now let's say you'd like to see what is the contents of your file. So you had to run the command cat and the file name. No greater than, no less than. Simply we have to say cat and the file name, which is my file. So you see it is showing me the contents of the file. Now guys, let's say I would like to add data to this file. I don't want to overwrite this file. I want to append this file. I want to add more data into it. I want to add few more lines to this particular file. So to append the data or to update this file, you can go with the command cat double greater than. Excuse me. Right. So over here you can see guys, we've got a command cat double greater than and the file name. If you use single greater than, it is going to create or overwrite the file. If you say cat double greater than, then it is going to add data to your existing file. Whatever you have written previously will not be touched. It would give you new lines to work with. So I'll say cat double greater than my file, and I'll add new data like Linux is freedom, and this is wonderful, anything, and let me save it. Again, to save it, we've got the same command, Control D. Add your data and say Control D to save and quit. Now repeat the first command, cat and the file name. You see that the two new lines have been added. Earlier it was having hello world, welcome to Linux. Now it is having hello world as well as these two lines what we have added recently. So like that, you can create a file and you can append the file. Now guys, there might be a question that is rolling in your mind, how to edit the file. For instance, you want to edit line number 1, line number 2. Guys, those things, again, I'll ask you to have some patience. There is a chapter or there is a thing in our coming class which we call it as file editor. So in that chapter, I'll show you, maybe tomorrow or something, we'll see that how to edit the file or how to change the things which is already available, because double greater is giving you new place to write. It is not allowing you to make the changes in previous data. We'll see that in a short time, or I mean in the coming class, maybe tomorrow or day after tomorrow, that thing may come into our route and we'll see that. Now how we have created a file, I'd like to create multiple files also, guys. Guys, sometimes what we will do is we'll create a blank file. Just like that. I don't want it to have any data inside it. Simply, I'd like to reserve that name. So what I'll do, I'll create some blank files and I'm going to keep it. How to create a blank file? You've got a command, touch. Touch will create a 0-byte file, an empty file. For instance, I'll say touch file 1. Now you just check it out, ls minus l. First you can check it out by ls. You can see that file 1 is created. Check the size of it, ls minus l file 1. And you can see that the size of this file is 0. Check out with cat command, cat file 1, there is nothing. It is basically an empty or 0-byte file. Guys, I'd like to have a small break. Uh, just give me 2 minutes of gap, guys, and we'll continue again. Continue. So there is a question coming in. What is the difference between touch and cat command? See, as it is displayed on the screen, Zishan, that with cat command, you can create a file and at the same time you can add the data. Whereas touch command will simply create a blank file without any data. So it is just creating a 0-byte file, an empty file. So if you want to create the file and keep the data, go with cat command. If you simply want to create a file, maybe I want to reserve this name file 1. I don't want anybody to use this name. So beforehand, I am creating one file. Later, I will add the data by using cat command. So I have created a file with 0 size and the file name is file1 which contains no data. Now if you want to add the data later, you can say cat greater than file1 and say, let me use shift and backspace, touch command example, save it, control D. Just say now cat and file1. You see now I am adding the data. So while I created it, it didn't contain any data. But now I have added the data whose size is 22 KB. Earlier it was 0 KB. Hope this answer your question. Manzoor, is that clear? Yep. Simply create a file without any data. And cat creates a file plus allow you to add a data. Okay guys, now creating one file is quite simple. Let's say I want to reserve some name. I want to create some number of blank files like file2, file3, file4 at a time. I can say touch file2, file3 and file4. Hit enter, do ls. You see it has created file2, file3, file4. Check out the contents ls minus l. You can see that file2, file3, file4, these are blank, only the names, it contains no data inside it. Later if you want to add, you need to use it cat command and fill the data inside it. You can create multiple files by using touch command. Touch file1 space file2 space file3, whatever names you want to give. I am using an example file as the name. You can give any name of your choice and you can complete it. Similarly guys, I would like to create directories also. To create a file, I have used a command cat. Now I'd like to create a directory. To create a directory, we've got a command make dir or mkdir and the directory name. Guys, there is a difference in file creation and directory creation. As I've told you, with cat command, if you give any existing file name, it will overwrite the content. But the same thing does not happen with directory. If you use a command mkdir and give any existing directory name, it will throw an error that this name is already used and you cannot again use it. So in directory, we have a security, but for a file, unfortunately, we don't have any security. So for creating a directory, if you give new name, it will create. If you give existing name, it will fail, it will throw an error. So let me create a new directory mkdir and I'll give a name my.dir. And you see this name is not yet used, so it is going to successfully create a directory for me. Do ls and you can see there is a directory created my.dir. You can check the details of it, ls minus ld my.dir. You can see it is a directory, contains two files inside it, created by root, group owner is root, capacity is 6 KB, created on so and so date and time. But guys, I have created only a directory. How come it is creating two sub thing inside it? Maybe a directory, maybe a file. How come it is showing that there are two things inside it? I have created an empty directory. So let us go into that directory and let's check that what is that two files or directories inside it. Guys, currently I am in slash root and inside slash root there is a directory called my.dir. So I'd like to change my directory to my.dir. And to change the directory guys, we have a very simple command called cd. CD stands for change directory. To which directory? My dir. Just check out pwd. It says that inside root there is my dir where you are currently sitting. It is giving you exact path or location where you are currently. So if you remember, it says that it contained to something. Now what is that something inside it? I'll say ls. There is nothing. I'll say ls minus l. There is nothing. It says it contains zero things. But how come here it is given two things for me? So if something is not visible, that means there is something hidden. So how to see all the files, whether it is hidden or unhidden? I can run the command ls minus a for all, show you all the files. This command is generally used for seeing the hidden files. So you see it says that it contains two directories called dot and double dot. Even that dots has a meaning, guys. Guys, dot means current directory and double dot means previous directory. Let's try to change the directory to them, guys. I'll say cd dot. Where I am? Same directory, nothing happened. But if I say cd space dot dot, where I am? I went to previous directory. So guys, it is a link that will allow me to go back to my previous directory. Generally cd dot dot is a command to go back to previous directory. Like currently you were in root my directory. When I say cd dot dot, it throw it back one step back to root. So generally guys, people might show you only the command that cd dot dot is the command. But how that command works? Because there is a hidden thing available which is allowing you to go back. Similarly guys, let's say you want to create a hidden file. How to create? With data, without data, your choice. I don't want to waste the time in again writing something. Or chalo, let's write it, no problem. I'll say cat greater than. I'd like to create a file, maybe hide. But I want this to be a hidden file. So whenever you want to create a hidden file, you have to start it with dot. Any name that starts with dot will be a hidden file, guys. So when I hit enter and let's add a data, hidden file. Let me save and quit, Control D, do ls. Guys, you can see all the files, but your hide file is not displayed. Do ls minus a. You see guys, there are many files which is hidden. Dot, bash logout, bash profile, bash rc, bash history. Many files are hidden. In that list, you can also see there is a hidden file called a dot hide. You can read it by using cat dot hide, and you can see the content. Now to unhide it, you have to rename this file. How to rename in the coming class we'll see. So as of now, I'm skipping it, but I'll come back. How to rename a file. Guys, are you with me? Are you able to understand all the things? A confirmation, please. So like that, what we can do, thank you very much guys. So like that, what we can do is we can create multiple files of your choice. Either you can keep it unhide, or if there is important thing you don't want to display, you can create it by dot and the file name, it will get hidden. And to change the directory guys, as I've told you, you can just use cd and any directory. Maybe I want to go into documents, so I'll say capital D documents. Check out pwd. In root there is a documents folder where you are. To come back to previous directory, cd dot dot. Same you can do it with my directory, cd my dir. Do ls and you can see there are some hidden files which we have explored recently. But this directory is empty. If you want, you can create number of files. So one more interesting thing, guys. Let's say you want to create a file with range, guys. Let's say the base name you want to maintain is file. But with this name, you want to create 10 files like file 1, file 2, file 3, file 4, file 5. Up to 10 you want to create. So one method is you can say file 1, file 2, file 3, like that, space up to 10 you can give. Or you can give a range, guys. And how to declare a range? You have to use this flower bracket and give the range between how much you want to create. You can give A, B, C, D, or you can give numbers, like I'm giving numbers. File 1 to 10. That two dots will act as a range in this command. So I want to create a file with their names 1 to 10. Base name should be file. Enter, do ls. You can see file 1, file 2, file 3, up to 10 it has created. So like that, we can create multiple files by declaring range. Guys, you can also create multiple directories. For example, you want to create multiple directories. Same command is there. You have to run mkdir, whatever directory. For example, d1, d2, d3. Do ls and you can see 3 directories with this name got created. So mkdir is the command to create a single directory as well as multiple directories. Whereas for a file, we used touch command. For directory, there is a same command makedir. In fact, you can give range here also. mkdir, I want to keep the base name D. I want to start with 4 and I want to go up to 10. Close the flower bracket. It's not square bracket, guys. It's not any other thing. It is a flower bracket, something above square bracket. Now do ls. You could see it has created d4, d5, d6 up to 10. So like that, you can create a file or you can create a directory. Single directory, multiple directory. Single file, multiple file. And to change the directory, you can say simply cd d1. Check out the location. In root, I am in my dir, inside it d1. To go back to one step, you can run cd dot dot. Guys, it will take me to my dir. Check out one more time, guys. Guys, this time I want to go back by skipping my dir. From D1, I want to directly jump 2 steps. To do that, you can say cd dot dot slash dot dot. That means go back and again one more time back. Just run pwd. You see it has skipped my dir and took you back to root. Like that, guys, you can use this command. Even you can go forward also in this way. You can say cd, go to my dir, inside my dir, go to d1. So it's like a lift, guys. Without climbing first floor, second floor manually, you can directly go to ground floor without stopping on every floor. So like that, what I am doing, guys, I am moving back 2 steps. I am going forward 2 steps. This way, that way, both way it is possible to work with. Or guys, from any directory, assume there is a directory, inside it one more directory, inside it one more directory, inside it one more directory. You went in series of directory. Now you want to directly jump back to home directory. Guys, I am into my dir, thereafter d1, inside d1, d2, inside d2, d3, inside d3, d4. I am in series inside and inside. I'm like a loop following inside it. So from innermost directory, I want to jump back to my home directory. So as a root, my home directory is /root. To go back to home directory, simply run cd command without any dot, double dot or anything. When you run cd, you see guys, wherever you are, it will throw you back to home directory. So like that guys, you have to use these commands. So one more time guys, let's have a review what we have done. So cat command is a command to create a file. You can say cat greater than to create a new file and give the data, save it by control D. To display cat and the file name. To append the data, cat double greater than file name, control D to save it. To create a blank file or multiple files, touch is the command. Touch file 1, file 2, file 3, or you can give a range. To create a directory, you can run the command mkdir. To change the directory, you have a command cd. And to come back, you will use cd dot dot. Also guys, ls is the command that will list the contents of your directory ls. To see the long listing, ls minus l. To see a particular directory, ls minus l, sorry, a file name, ls minus l and file name. To see a particular directory, ls minus ld and the directory. There are some other examples also guys which you can use like ls minus al to show the file, with the hidden attributes. Any file which is hidden, it can show you guys. You can use these ranges and all, try out. So that's it guys for today's session. We'll stop here, and tomorrow when we meet, we are going to continue from the same location and we'll see what is the next thing to do. One more thing guys, if you want to shut down your machine from command line, obviously from this fellow you can go to this terminal machine, there is an option shutdown. Or if you want to do it via command line, simply there is a command guys, you can run init 0 to reboot init 6. Or guys, you can run a command power off to shut down, or you can run reboot. This is for Linux environments guys. So I'm going to power off my machine. I'll say power off, and you can see guys my connection got lost because I have disconnected and it has initiated shutting down and my system got shut down. You see, powered off. That's it guys. If you have any questions, kindly go ahead. A very good question guys, actually asked by Manzoor Ahmad, that we can't SSH into a shutdown machine, then how we can remotely start the machine. Guys, nowadays what happens is every machine, whether it is physical machine or if you are working with virtualization guys, obviously you will have this tool to connect to. Or if it is a physical machine, then what happens is on the physical machine you would be having two ports guys, which is called as console ports. So these ports will be alive even if your physical machine is in shutdown state. So if you want to access your machine and do something, then what you need to do is, in our working cultures, generally what we'll do from our laptop, we would contact to any of the port and it will allow me to log in into the machine and then power on the machine. These ports are called as console ports. Depending on hardware to hardware, these ports have different names. For example, in Dell we called DRAC, Dell Remote Access Control, or IDRAC. In HP we call it as ILO, Integrated Lights Out, and if it is IBM, it is IMM, Integrated Management Module. So different names are given, guys, and these ports would be having IP address. You have to just open a browser on your laptop or desktop, whatever it might be. Type the IP address of this console. It will give you a login session where you can do power off, power on, whatever you want to do with that. Answer your questions, Zishan, Manzoor. Great. Any other questions, guys? Please feel free to put your questions. One more thing Manzoor has asked. So basically, we can still SSH in a shutdown server. Yes, those particular ports will be alive even if your machine is in shutdown state. You just need to make sure that power outlet is connected. That's it. Okay, guys. So one more question Zishan has asked, that what is SSH? See, SSH is a service via which I can enter into my system. See, guys, there are some doors via which I can enter into the system, or I can say plugs. One plug is called as SSH, other plug is called as telnet, other plug is called as HTTP, or other plug is called as DNS. So these are few of the doors via which we can enter into the system. So these doors and plugs are called as ports via which you can enter into your system, you can access your system. So every port has a unique number. Like SSH has port number 22. Telnet has port number 23, which is displayed on your PuTTY terminal. If you see that SSH port number is 22. So I am typing IP address and I am telling that you have to connect via SSH. So from here it will go to server and it will try to enter into the system using SSH door. Similarly, you can give telnet whose port number is 23. Or if you are working on a website, you want to access your website, then we'll use port number 80 for HTTP. Or if you want to resolve some names to IP, probably you want to use DNS, then you will use port number 53. Or you want to send emails, then we'll use port number 25. So every door or plug in your system via which you can access or use the things in your system is having a unique number, and which is called as ports. One of that is SSH, and SSH is one of the safest and secure for connecting to your machine. To connect and work to your machine, probably we have telnet and SSH. Telnet is not that much secure due to security reasons. We'll talk about it later. But SSH is one of the secure way to connect your machine. So probably we use this SSH. Any other questions, guys? Guys, if you have more questions, please put forward. or just confirm me that you are done so that we can wind up the session if you are done with the questions. Okay, Zishan says it's fine with him. I think Edward has already confirmed. Garima also says okay. Michael fine. So Manzoor also has confirmed that's fine. So all have been done with that, guys. So we'll stop here. Probably I'd request you to do practicals, and if there is any doubt anytime, you can approach me on my email address via which I am communicating with you, and send me the screenshots whatever you are facing. I'll try to reply there and then, or any time before the beginning of the class or after the class. We can have some time invested in your queries, and I'll try to help you out, guys. So thank you so very much, guys. We'll stop here and let's meet up tomorrow. Goodbye.